be a new wood, you'd certainly want to protect as much of that as you can.
What you got over there, Ron? Got some salt?
Boy, this is some groceries, I'm telling you about it.
Make my life worthwhile.
Deep fry this little bird today.
It's time for Down Home in the Tri-States with your host, Ron Jones. If it's farming, gardening, information, or just plain interesting, you can catch it all right here on Down Home in the Tri-States.
Glad y'all could be with us on Down Home in the Tri-States. I'm Ron Jones, and we're on every Saturday right here on this station. We certainly do appreciate you watching this program and doing business with our sponsors, folks. Let's see, I want to remind you about the Sacred Heart Sing. That's going to be at the Headland Alabama Settlement, February the 14th. It's going to start at 10 a.m. And that's at the old Red Bay Church, I believe it is, if they have that thing in there. So y'all want to be sure to attend that. I want to remind you about the Big Mason Auction. This is their annual winter and farm construction auction. This is the largest sale of the year. That's going to be February the 21st at the Mason Auction Yard, Highway 231 North, Campbellton, Florida, starting at 8 a.m. sharp. Y'all don't miss it. We'll see you there, folks. Let's see what else we got. Oh, yeah. I want to bring you an update now on the Bend Road death trap. Folks, it's been about 5 weeks since I updated y'all on this death trap here in Bend Road in Washington County. Just a death waiting to happen. Not only has it not been repaired, but it's gotten even worse. Look at this. I mean, this, you can see it just right here, look. It's just crumbling down every time we get a rain. It's just more and more. It just keeps moving on over. And you can't pass 2 cars. You can't hardly pass one. And this is terrible. I mean, look at it. Look how deep this thing is. Looks like the Grand Canyon. You know, it's a death waiting to happen. Y'all just keep watching the news, because you're going to see somebody's going to get killed here. They're going to get killed right here. Yeah, that's pretty much what you see right there, you know. And if you're not familiar with this road and you're coming up here at night, that's what's going to happen. And why, for the life of me, they won't come up here and repair this thing? Well, I do understand. I mean, I did find out they don't have any money to do it with, but they could find some dirt from somewhere, I guarantee you. Barricade, been there for over a month now. If I'm not mistaken, that looks like a puppy. Somebody's little dog right there. Can y'all see that? It looks like a little dog. A little white dog. Man, got down there and got trapped under that barricade thing. Well, today's show, folks, Eric Toole traveled to Headland, Alabama. He and Dana, his wife, and did the thing up there on Joe Todd's syrup farm. And boy, this is neat. We're going to have part 1 today, so y'all watch this. We'll be back in just a minute. It's Down Home in the Tri-States, and we certainly do appreciate you watching this program and doing business with our sponsors. That's what keeps this thing going, folks.
The best way to protect your stuff and keep it out of the elements is a quality, inexpensive, well-constructed pole barn kit from Surplus and Salvage of Chipley. Known for many years as the headquarters for pole barn kits, Surplus and Salvage of Chipley has got just about any size you need. The ever-popular 24x24 is a low only $16.99. Yep, $16.99. I know that sounds too good to be true, but that's right, folks. Surplus and Salvage of Chipley has got them all the way up to the huge 32x60. Check them out. Tell them Ron sent you. They'll treat you right, and we certainly would appreciate it. Folks, one of the best investments I've ever made is this golf cart right here. It saved me a lot of legwork, because here at the farm and up at the lodge, we do a lot of stuff. And if it wasn't for this golf cart, I'd be done walk myself to death. Paul Davidson, the Main Street Market, he's a farmer and realizes the value of something like this. That's why Paul Davidson is now handling the golf carts. They've been completely refurbished. They got new rubber, they got new paint, they got tops, and hey folks, they've even got brand new batteries, or the batteries have been completely checked out and are ready to go. Folks, that's a deal for $38.95. Tell them you want Ron Jones's discount. Tell them you watch this show and you want this discount. Get your husband one. Get your wife one. It's a leg saver, folks. Go see them at Main Street Market, Highway 77 and Highway 90 in Chipley, Florida. Tell them Ron sent you. They'll do you right. It used to be people needing tree service like removal and pruning had to accept what they could get. That is, until now. Meet Easy Care, tree and lawn experts. Easy Care is now the tree and lawn service of choice in this area. They know what can be done and what can't be done and what needs to be done.
Starting out with the tree removal process, we then move on to the cleanup, haul off, and the sweep up the process. And if the customer needs it, we also offer the stump grinding.
With Easy Care, you'll get an honest appraisal and an honest job.
I'm Dal Morris, and we go to any length to please our customers. At Easy Care, our main goal is to keep the homeowner happy.
With Easy Care, you can feel safe.
We're fully licensed and insured.
And with Easy Care's large and experienced hard-working crew, they will be there to take care of your request.
At Easy Care, we believe to do the right job, you have to have the right tools.
Trust the experts. Call them today.
Regardless of whether you have a one-day job, a two-day job, or a month job, no job is too big or too small for Easy Care Lawn and Tractor.
Folks, we're here this morning with Mr. Joe Todd of Todd Syrup Farm up in Headland, Alabama. We took a trip up to Headland, and this was totally incidental. I stopped by, been eating Mr. Todd's syrup for several years, and he offered us a tour of his facility here. There's a lot of history of how this area come about and happened in this area, and a lot of history from all over the U.S. Mr. Todd, appreciate you letting us come here and tell us a little bit about what you do, how you do it, and where we can find your products in the area.
Okay. We strictly sell our products in the mom and pop stores.
Right.
In southeast Alabama and in the Florida Panhandle. We started out just to make syrup for our neighbors.
All right.
And nobody was making syrup. Nobody knew how to do it. It's like hog killing.
Nobody knows how to do that anymore.
And cleaning and dressing the chicken. Nobody
Absolutely.
knew how to do that stuff. So we bought that little mini farm down there, and we started growing cane in 1996. And I didn't have any equipment, but we carried it over to Columbia, and I borrowed Mr. Buddy Walsworth's equipment and made syrup. And I took an old piece of barn tin and nailed a sign up on Cottonwood Road. And it said syrup for sale, and in 3 days we didn't have no syrup.
I can remember that. But he's not in Cottonwood anymore, ladies and gentlemen. He's up here on 431 here in the Headland. He has a little small retail outlet. Now, when he says mom and pop store, we're not talking about mom and pop Walton as in Walmart. We're talking about your local grocery stores and some of your feed and seed stores that's in the area. But we'll have some more shots and stuff. And we have a video that explains the history of Todd Syrup Farm. It goes back to 1835, if I remember right.
Yeah, and it may go back a little further than that. They took a hollow log and sawed it in two, and they set the cane meal in the bottom of
The
it.
juice would run down that log.
Yeah, and then turn the top over it, and then put the cap on it and the pole on it and run a mule.
I bet if he had the wrong kind of wood, it was some rough tasting syrup.
Now I know where there's one of them that's actually set up, Mr. Quincy Lee. I'm using the Lee family cane mill here that was sold to the Lee family back about 1926. From the Lee family was from Bonifay. They've still got a cane mill set up like that one right there, setting in wood frames. And the mule pulling it.
I wouldn't mind seeing that myself.
So it's sitting there under the barn now. And his grandson, Mr. Lee's grandson, come by here yesterday, and he did not know that I had the family cane mill. So he's been eating my syrup. It was made on his granddaddy's cane mill, and he didn't know about it.
Well, folks, I'm going to tell you now. You can look at me and tell I've eaten a lot of syrup in my life. Mr. Todd has made some of the best I've ever had, and it's worth the trip to Headland if you like cane syrup. Now, you have a blend that's for pancakes,
right.
But if you like the kind of syrup that when you drag your biscuit across it and the crumbs are still left in the plate, this is the man to come get it with. Now, you told us about a syrup pitcher collection, too.
Right. They go back to actually a little bit before 1800. That milk glass was made in England, but we got them back. We got a lot of them made prior to the Civil War in that collection. But
We'll get
our
some pictures
family's
of that.
always been syrup makers, and
Well, you're very good at it, I'll
we
tell
know
you
how to
that
do
now.
it. Yeah.
Well,
But now we're fixing to expand here, the little retail store that you saw up there this morning with all the stuff in it. This was never intended to be our retail store. We have already signed a contract to expand.
cool.
We'll be putting in a country store with a little cafe in it, coffee shop, ice cream shop, so we'll be expanding in the next 6 to 8 months.
Gonna expand out and bring back some of the old thing.
Right.
And that's what's missing in today's world, is the chance to sit down and just slow down. And I'm glad that this business is growing for Mr. Todd. But we'll be back in a few minutes and have some footage for you that explains the history of Todd Syrup Farm.
But in October of 1864, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather made syrup here in the adjoining county of where we are today.
Folks, if there's one thing I like to share with my viewers, that's fact. And the fact is, Gunner's Oyster Bar in Vernon, Florida beats even the best, hands down. The secret to a successful Florida seafood kitchen is the man in the kitchen. Well, when Vic Starling took over from previous owner Bubba Wagner, he found the best chef and brought him all the way up. Chef and cook Freddie Whitfield is known all over the area. From succulent shrimp, served 3 ways, fried in smoked mullet. Or how about a good hot bowl of Gunner's world-famous chili or his famous low country boil gumbo? There ain't none better, folks, and you'll love Freddie's famous sauteed shrimp, a hit from Apalachicola to Destin. Located right on Highway 79 just south of Vernon, if you're coming to the beach, traveling back home, or just want to check them out, take my word, folks, Gunner's has my 5 stars. Join Vic, old Gunner, and the whole friendly staff. Gunner's is the best, and that's a fact. Where are the places you're most likely to encounter a tough, rugged, aggressive, yet gentle rhino?
Up and down the rivers and lakes, everywhere that I go, people are doing double takes, checking out my rhino. No doubt about it, it's the very best. Even my mother-in-law is impressed. Now you know what I know, make your boat a rhino.
From turkey hunting to deer hunting and everything in between, your best shot is King's.
King's Outdoors can take care of your hunting, fishing, and shooting needs year-round. We have an extensive selection of ammunition, including Remington, Federal, Winchester, and Hornady.
Ladies, if you need a firearm and have no idea where to start, Perry and his friendly, helpful staff will make you feel right at home.
Here at King's Outdoors, we have all major brands of handguns, shotguns, rifles, scopes, and accessories, including Browning, Beretta, Savage, Remington, and Marlin.
From deer rifles, shotguns, and handguns to fishing supplies for all fishermen and lady anglers, King's Outdoors stocks the best. Need prescriptions?
At King's, we've been meeting your prescription needs since 1977.
If you're headed to the beach, put King's on your stop and stock up before you get there. They're located right on Main Street. That's Highway 77 in Chipley, Florida, in front of the hospital. Just look for the big red canopy.
Here at King's, we'll work hard to earn your business and keep your business. Y'all come see us.
King's Discount Drugs and King's Outdoor. Have you got water problems? Pump won't pump? Do you need answers and solutions, but you don't want the runaround and you want someone honest? Well, have no fear, folks. Do what I did. Call the man, Water Dan. Dan Dubose will take care of your problem.
Hello, folks. This is Water Dan. I work on submersible pumps, jet pumps, do repairs and upgrades, anything to do with an existing water well. I would appreciate it if you call.
Call the man, Water Dan. He'll take care of your water problems. 850-535-9308. 535-9308. Folks, you know why people from Washington, Jackson, Holmes, Bay County, you know why they call Water Dan? Because Dan Dubose knows what he's doing. Y'all give him a call.
It was a long drive from Headland, Alabama, back to Augusta, Georgia. That morning, a light rain fell from the overcast sky, and every color seemed to have a muted, muddy tone. But as I drove back, I thought about the reason I had made this trip. It was to meet Mr. Joe Todd, and to learn about a man who at nearly 80 years old was making cane syrup the way his family had done since 1835.
I have my grandfather's cane stripper. I remember asking my dad when maybe I was 10 or 12, I said, how long has our family been making syrup? And he thought for a while, and he says, well, you know, it goes back to the 1830s, but he said, I could tell you the actual story of what my dad said, because I asked him the same question. Dad, how long have you been making syrup? And my granddaddy told him, said, this cane stripper his grandfather made for him, and his grandfather were stripping cane in the fall of 1864 when his dad, Eli Todd, walked home from the Civil War of the Battle of Atlanta. Daddy said Grandpa looked up, him and his granddaddy were stripping cane, and Daddy showed me the cane stripper that he made, and it's hanging on the wall here. It's a very treasure of mine. That's my granddaddy's cane stripper that his granddaddy made for him. They were stripping cane in October of 1864 when he looked up and saw his daddy walking home from the Civil War. Now, Grandpa said, I'm ashamed to admit it, but he said, my thoughts was not, I'm thankful that my daddy survived the war and is now home. He said, all I thought about was, I won't be hungry anymore. But in October of 1864, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather made syrup here in the adjoining county of where we are today. So we have also, through other sources, we believe our family originally started making syrup here in southeast Alabama, southwest Georgia in 1835.
Skimming, we got about 3 gallons of chlorophyll out. But there's still about another gallon in there to get perfect syrup. To get that, we've got to get 100% of the chlorophyll out to have perfect syrup.
Well, my first remembrance of Dad making the syrup and the sugar cane, we all wore hand-me-downs. The 2 brothers of mine was older than I was. By the time they got to me, they were in pretty bad shape. And I can remember wearing a pair of overalls, and I was no more than 3. I could have probably have been 4 years old, and Dad was making syrup. And I remember the back of my pants were torn, the overalls was torn. And I wasn't embarrassed about it, but I remember 2 men driving up in a big fine car, and they had on suits of clothes and nice suits of clothes. They didn't have on overalls like everybody else wore. They had on hats. They were really dressed up. Well, I knew these men were very important. And then it became embarrassing to me that I had on overalls with the back end torn out of them. So I started backing up to the house to where they wouldn't see me. And you saw the chlorophyll that comes out of the cane, that skimmings that comes off. Well, I didn't see that tub of skimmings, and I backed into that tub of skimmings, and I remember, you know, how sticky it was and how it got all over me and ruined my clothes, and I remember jumping up crying and going to Mama. Now, Mom was a disciplinarian. I don't remember Dad ever much attacking us, but with Mom, we were all deathly afraid of her. She was a perfectionist. She could can and make the most wonderful meals out of anything. She was a super good cook. She could make the best biscuits, cornbread, collards, turnips. Mom was a master provider, but she was a highly demanding person of us 3 boys, and she made life hard for us, but it really taught us a lot. She was the one that taught us all that we needed to know how to cook. We needed to know how to preserve and can. I won't forget the time that the health inspector came, and he told my wife, and we've been canning stuff for years, and he told my wife she needed to know how to go to canning school. Well, I doubt that young man knows anything about canning, but my wife knows everything about canning. But yeah, we're gonna have to go to canning school. to satisfy our health inspector. But we were taught well by our parents to know how to dress a chicken, dress a hog, shell an ear of corn, where to take our corn to have meal made. We cherish the fact that we grew up on the farm, and we knew the hard things that we had to do to survive and to make a living. Well, I've got some photographs of planting cane here on this place. We planted cane Labor Day of 2012. But you plant that cane using the stalk of cane. You don't use a seed, because each leaf, it has a little nodule or an eye, and that's where the root forms, and that comes up and makes another stalk of cane. So you open a ditch or a furrow in the ground, and you plant the whole stalk of cane. And ideally you want to plant in September, and it will root all the warm days during the wintertime, and in the spring it will come out early and get a good start. The newer varieties, all it needs is a 5-month growth period, but all your old heritage varieties, it needs at least 7 months to sweeten up. But this has been a good year for us. But I can remember the old folks' way was to dig a hole in the ground and put those stalks in it and cover it in the fall of the year. Whatever that we made into syrup for enough to last us, the rest of it we buried, and we would dig it out in the spring and plow open the fur, and we would chop it up, and we would drop those pieces of the stalk in the ground and cover it up. But I've learned over time that really is Stone Age. We don't need to do that. We need to go ahead and cut that stalk down when it's good and green in September and plant the whole stalk. We get a much better germination, we get a much better stand, and then we'll get an extra couple of feet of growth the next year by planting it in the fall of the year.
It used to be people needing tree service like removal and pruning had to accept what they could get. That is, until now. Meet Easy Care, tree and lawn experts. Easy Care is now the tree and lawn service of choice in this area. They know what can be done and what can't be done and what needs to be done.
Start out with the tree removal process. We then move on to the cleanup, the haul off, and the sweep up the process. And if the customer needs it, we also offer the stump grinding.
With Easy Care, you'll get an honest appraisal and an honest job.
I'm Dal Morris, and we go to any length to please our customers. At Easy Care, our main goal is to keep the homeowner happy.
With Easy Care, you can feel safe.
We're fully licensed and insured.
And with Easy Care's large and experienced, hard-working crew, they will be there to take care of your request.
At Easy Care, we believe to do the right job, you have to have the right tools.
Trust the experts. Call them today.
Regardless of whether you have a 1-day job, a 2-day job, or a month job, no job is too big or too small for Easy Care Lawn and Tractor.
Beautiful! The leaf of the cane comes out from the stalk, and wherever there's a leaf right behind it is a joint and that little nodule. All right, for that little nodule to be healthy, water has to stay against it. So water is always between the leaf and the stalk, and it will be a perfect environment for little gnats, for little mosquitoes to have water. All right, well, that will draw spiders, and spiders will draw this, and frogs, and the little green tree frogs. So when you go out in the fall of the year, you'll find all of this ecology going on in your cane fields. So you take the leaf off of the stalk of cane to get rid of the insects. So you take the leaf off of the stalk of the cane, you cut the top out, and then you cut it off as close to the ground as you can, and you load it and you bring it to the mill. The mill crushes the juice out of the stalk of cane. And now we use the crushed stalk to compost, to use it for fertilizer here on our farm. but it can be used for other things. It can be ground up into cattle feed. It can be ground up and put in chicken feed. Sugar mills sell it to make Silatex out of for your commercial buildings. So there's multiple things. You can actually make a form of paper out of that stalk of cane. Now, when I first started making syrup in '97, it would take me about 2.5 hours with the mill that I had to grind 80 gallons of juice. So we have been able to find better mills and to upgrade and to get our timing going. And this morning, to grind the 60 gallons of juice on a mill that was made in, say, about 1925, it took less than 30 minutes to grind that 60 gallons of juice. And it went into a stainless steel tank. We pumped it into the kettle, and it takes about 3.5 hours to cook the impurities out of it. The sugar cane is a member of the grass family. The first ingredient that comes out of it is chlorophyll, and it comes out in a thick mass. I don't start skimming that off until it almost reaches the boiling point, because what will happen, all of your little grunges, dirts, or grains of sand will come up and mat into that chlorophyll, and just before boiling I skim that off of it. And when it begins to boil, we continue to skim, but the one thing that we're very, very careful about is to increase the amount of flame under the kettle and keep that thing boiling up to the top of the pot, because keeping the wind from knocking it down, keeping the kettle full, getting the chlorophyll out of it, those are key things to having bright, pretty, good tasting syrup. If you leave the chlorophyll in the cane syrup, it will give it a strong, bitter bite taste to it. Like if you swallow it, you'll taste that grunginess on the back of your tongue. But we try to make sure that our cane syrup is all clear of chlorophyll, and we know how to do that. We know how to control it and bring that right out on that limb and rim of the kettle and wipe it off after we're no longer able to skim. See, you're not able to skim all of the chlorophyll out of syrup. You have to be able to bring it out on that lip and then take a rag and wipe it off. And I think today you had some footage of me wiping the lip of that kettle. So you're doing two things to that kettle. You're bringing that chlorophyll out there, you're wiping it off, and you're also keeping it from scorching. Down in the kettle, that syrup is not going to scorch, but out on that rim, when you bring it out, if you don't get it off within 3 or 4 minutes, it will scorch. And that will in turn then get back into your syrup, just like trying to cook a potato that sticks to the bottom of the pot. And it will have that scorch taste throughout it. And that's why a lot of people's syrup will taste scorched, is because they don't keep it clean around the rim of the lip of the kettle.